So the 2023 Austrian Grand Prix has concluded, but we have different race results now because of it. And I find this pretty outrageous. So a total of 83 laps have been deleted, and there have been multiple different penalties given out. Now, I mean, they've released documents. They're still continuing to release documents. This is pretty insane. So like we saw in qualifying with the actual track limits being deleted and them changing times after the fact of the lap actually being done like 30 or 40 seconds late, now Aston Martin's sporting director, the guy that kind of like does the management outside of the sport, kind of, like I said, looks into these types of things, track limits and where the penalty can be given, whether the penalty was reserved for the team, whatever. This is kind of the job that he does. They went to the stewards and argued with them for penalties to be given out. Now, some of these penalties are outrageous, but on screen right now you see Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, Yuki, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton. I mean, it's giving you a rundown from each lap. I mean, it gives you each lap, the lap time, when it was deleted. There are 4 different documents of this. This is just continuing to go down. Number 1 lap, number 2 lap, and it keeps continuing and continuing and continuing. Here's the next one, from 13 to 34, all the laps deleted here. I mean, this is so... I don't know what to say about this. I do agree that drivers need to stay within the lap limits, and I agree with track limits, but enforcing it after, changing the result that we'll get into after, I don't know how to feel about this. It is not a good look, I would say. I don't think that a team should just be able to go and be like, hey, they cross here, here, and here. But it is fair, to be honest, that they were able to do something like this because, listen, everybody was getting them. Everybody needed to stay within track limits. Here it is again, from 35 to 55. I mean, it just goes on and on. I know that they were arguing definitely for Lance Stroll to try and go from P10 to P9. From what I saw, I know that they're also looking into Alonso, and I'll tell you this, Alonso has jumped up. I don't remember seeing Lance Stroll jump up. I'm going to name them all to you by the end of this. It's ridiculous. So here are the penalties. Carlos Sainz gets 10 seconds. Hamilton gets 10 seconds. Gasly gets 10 seconds. Albon gets 10 seconds. Ocon got a fat 30-second penalty. Sargent gets 10 seconds. De Vries, who was nowhere anyways, gets 15 seconds. And Tsunoda gets 5 seconds. Yeah, these were given out. Now, the top 3 are safe: Perez, Verstappen, and Leclerc, which I'm glad that that result hasn't been changed because that would have been absolutely ridiculous. But thankfully, that wasn't changed. Here is how they gave out those penalties. A 10-second penalty to Carlos Sainz, 10 to Lewis, 10 to Pierre, 10 to Alexander Albon, a 5, a 10, a 5, and a 10 for Esteban Ocon. Holy. And then it tells you right here the reasons. Penalties have been applied as follows: for 4 infringements, a 5-second time penalty; for 5 infringements, a 10-second time penalty. Then a reset has been allowed due to excessive number in infringements. After the 4 infringements, a 5-second time penalty. I mean, Ocon was driving on a different track, apparently. Logan Sargent seems to have been doing the same, but Ocon was out of this universe. De Vries also giving himself some fat penalties. This is pretty funny, man. I never thought we would see some document like this being put out of penalties being imposed after the fact of the race. It's something else. It's something else. Formula One always finds something with these new stewards. Something new and interesting. And here are the results now after the fact of these penalties. So P1, Verstappen. P2, Leclerc. P3, Perez. P4, Norris. So Norris jumps up from P5, getting an even better position. Then we get P5, Alonso. Alonso stayed actually within Norris. So if Norris was to get the penalty of 5 seconds, Alonso would have been up to P4, but now he's up to P5. So Norris is safe, even though Norris did have 3. So he was right at the limit. Sainz drops from P4 to 6. Already had to stay behind Leclerc, this is tragic. Russell actually jumps Hamilton. Hamilton goes to P8. P9 for Stroll, he jumps Gasly, and Gasly stays within the top 10. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel, honestly, about this. I feel like it's very unfair for Carlos to see this after the fact. Same with Gasly. I mean, like, in the race, a 5 to 10 second penalty can be enforced, and then it can change the outcome of the race. If there's a safety car, if there's anything else, but changing it after the fact, going off of these track limits that are already really hard to manage and doing something like this makes absolutely no sense to me. It's a very bad look, in my opinion, if you're changing after the fact of what happened. Now, I do agree with the decision that track limits should be enforced, but not after the fact of the race. Even if somebody comes up to you and tells you that this and this happened, just because you should have caught this in the race, we should have cameras looking at the track limits, and it should just be an automatic cue that somebody has done track limits or passed track limits. Like in tennis, how they have the eye view and players can challenge, they just have that eye view, shows you exactly where the ball landed, whether it landed in or out. Same thing with this. Whether the car was in or out of the track limits, it should just automatically give you that cue. Giving it after the race gave these drivers no chance to actually compete and try and fight that penalty that they got. It's tough. It's tough. I'm really not a fan of this. I don't know what to really think. Well, like, Austria is just a weird track. It's going to be the only track really on the grid that we get these types of penalties, shenanigans. I can't really think of another track. I think Qatar might get a couple of track limits as well, but I know that Austria is infamous for its track limits, and they've really been enforcing them in 2022 and 2023. But they need to find a better outcome as to how they're going to enforce this during the race. After the race, this doesn't really do justice to the drivers that have driven a whole long race just for it to be finished with them not being in the driving position that they wanted to be in. I'm sorry, this is just not the outcome that Formula One really needed at the end of the race. It takes away the beauty of what was the race. So, not a fan of this. I want to hear your guys' thoughts, especially on track limits. Give me everything. Give me the details. What do you guys think of the actual white line being the track limits on Austria? Should we extend that part of the track, specifically speaking, into turn 9s and 10? Because all the infringements, all the laps deleted, 99% of it was from turns 9 and 10. The occasional turn 3 occurred because that somebody went long by accident, or turn 1 by accident, but it was all within turns 9 and 10. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about the current situation happening and what this really just applied? Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I tried throwing it out to you guys. I did not expect to even make this video, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It's pretty ridiculous. Hard to say what my opinion is really on this. It's just not a good look, I think, for our sport. But let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like. It would mean the world. Subscribe. It would mean the world even more. And peace.